In studio, we do have our guest for this particular hour. She is the Minnesota House of Representatives. She's a member, rather, of the Minnesota House of Representatives. I'm talking about none other than Honorable Huldah Momanyi. Huldah, a very good morning to you and welcome to Kenya. Welcome to Radio Generation.
Thank you so much, my brother. It is good to be here. I am glad we were able to make this happen. And yes, I'm excited about this segment and just connecting and talking about, the connections between the diaspora and Kenya.
Right.
Thank you.
When I found out that you were coming yesterday to the studio, I was just checking the webs just to find out a little bit more about you. But now that you're here, I think it's better to just ask you directly. You are a member of the House of Representatives.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
In Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So could you compare to what that position is here in Kenya?
It's hard to compare, right? Because U.S. politics, the structure of it it's different from Kenya.
Right.
Here in Kenya, there's levels, right? You start with the chief, and then you go to MCA, and then you go all the way to Senate, and then I think MP,
there's governor, then there's president.
Exactly, right? Mm-hmm. But in the U.S., it's more centralized, right? So if we took away the federal piece of it and we look at it from the state level, I would be considered an MP, right?
Okay.
Because we have city council, we have school board, city council, then the state legislator, and then federal, and then presidency.
Wow.
So, but if you put it together, it's like comparing oranges and apples.
Yeah.
So it's a bit tricky to compare my role when it comes to the Kenyan political side of it.
But you are involved in legislation.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm a part of the Minnesota Legislator. It's basically they have two chambers: the lower chamber, which is House of Representatives, and then the upper chamber, which is the Senate. Mm-hmm. And so every bill originates from the House and then goes to the Senate. We call them jackets, where it's the same bill on both chambers, and then once both chambers agree on the final bill, that's what gets to go to the governor's office, and that's what gets signed into law.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
We were just having a conversation actually in the previous hour with CT, and one of the things that we're discussing was public participation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We feel like here in Kenya we don't do public participation as it is exposed in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
How does public participation happen in the US, specifically in Minnesota?
I think for the most part, just U.S. in general. I think it's something that most Americans take seriously. But sometimes you see that, especially in the last election, 22 million Americans did not vote, right? So public participation really comes down to the candidates' engagement with the constituency that they are connecting with.
Right.
And there's a lot of resources invested in educating the public about the process, because sometimes it can be complex, just understanding the process, because at the end of the day, it's not just the general election in the month of November. The whole entire process starts back in February, where you start with caucuses, where neighbors get together and they agree to be delegates, and then you go to your convention, the party convention, where now that's in around April, March, May, around there, where now you cast your vote for the endorsement of the party to whatever candidate of your choice.
Right.
And then from there you go to the primaries in around August, and then the final ballot in November. So public participation for us, it's really engaging the candidates, engaging the public, and then also, again, we are so invested in the average American understanding their rights to vote. And so there's a lot of organizations that come up that are there just to educate the public about, hey, it's just a right to vote, to make your voice heard. And I think for me, the reason why I even got into politics is to make sure that our people, especially the African immigrants in our country, who, by the way, focuses on three things, right?
Right.
They focus on going to school, they focus on going to church, and then they focus on going to work on repeat, right? We've never realized that we also have a say in the policies that are being created.
Exactly.
And so I'm trying to tell our people that we need to have this mindset of we no longer are coming back to the African continent in the way we originally thought. Because most of us have prayed to God, get me there. Once I get there, I make my money, then I come back. My friend, we're not coming back, right?
Yeah.
We are having kids there. We are having, we're investing there. And some of us are being buried there, right? And so this whole idea of let's engage public in civic engagement has been a part of my biggest drive in terms of my political career so far.
Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned policies and lawmaking.
Yes.
Do citizens participate in the laws and the policies that you actually make in the House and pass in the House?
Absolutely.
How
Example.
do
let
they
me
participate?
Just, yeah. Let me speak for myself. A lot of the laws or the bills that I authored about 27 bills. And
27.
Yes. There was about 4,000 bills that were introduced. Yes.
Hold on.
And out of that 4,000, about 100 made it to the floor per se, and then about 50 of them got passed. So all those 4,000, my friend, they're coming from somewhere, and they're coming from the people. And so my bills that I authored, were centered on talking to my constituency, really having them have a say in what I was authoring. Because then, my friend, you can't play with your constituency. They will make their voices heard. They will come and protest at your office. They will be very vocal about how you're representing them, and I think that's the beauty of the American political system, where the constituency has a say in what you do. Because if you don't, my friend, they're very active. They will make sure you do not get reelected again.
So these conversations, how exactly do you have them with the public? Do you do it online? Do they send emails to you? Do you go to town halls? How exactly do you engage them, just for them to understand, like, this is the bill I want to present, and this is the bill that we want to debate, probably pass?
All the above, right? My office, one of the things that I really wanted to do when I got elected is to be more accessible to my constituency. And so, we have a great marketing team. You assigned a marketing team, a communications team, a research team, all of this resources.
Please pause. You are assigned.
Yes.
Please just walk us through this. Who assigns you this team?
So the Minnesota legislator. It's how we are structured is really interesting because and again, this is my first time, right? So I'm still learning about what is what, how things work. But I've been drinking from a fire hose since I won, and so I feel like I still am.
That's a lot of water.
It is a lot of fire with water.
Yeah.
So we have how the Minnesota legislator is set up is that we have a partisan team, from communications to marketing to everything, and then we have a partisan team, a sub team that is now specifically for whatever party you align yourself with. So for me being a Democrat, we have the big team that is bipartisan. It works for both sides. And then when we really want to focus on certain topics that are specific to my party or the values that we want to advance, then we have another sub team that is just specifically for the party. So
these teams work with the politicians.
Yes. It's
it's the state of Minnesota pays these people.
Yes, they pay staff. They are part of your...
Meaning they are part of the administration, or are they part of the civil service? Or is it a unit that is specifically, whose existence is to serve the politicians within the state of Minnesota?
Exactly that. Their job is to make sure that we, as the legislator, the politicians, have everything we need to be successful.
Okay.
Yes.
And then there's this other body that now serves. If you happen to be a Republican, there'll be a unit that works with you.
Yes, and they're all literally in the same space.
They're in that same...
It's basically a building and different levels.
Yes. But the Democrats have their side.
We have the whole entire level right now as it stands. And then the Republican has, their level, their floor, right? And then in between is the bipartisan staff. And then within the different levels, we have now our groups of support teams.
So these are the people who help you with
everything.
Everything.
Yes. From drafting bills to making sure that the research on those bills are done. Because, for example, a constituency can reach out to me and say, "Hey, I want to do a plant-based meals for our schools because there's a lot of families that do not eat meat or whatever the case might be." Just that simple idea. They bring it to me. I take it to our research team. They do the whole entire mapping of what does this look like? Is money required for these bills? Because if money is required, then another team comes in and helps kind of put together what we call a fiscal note for that bill, if money is required to run that program. And then from there, we work with the bipartisan team now to see what if there's issues on the other side that we need to address before. By the time a bill comes to the floor, it has been vetted. Conversations have been had. You know, me as the person who's authoring that bill have had conversations with the other side to figure out whether or not I have enough votes. If I don't, what's the issue that somebody might have? If I just need 1 or 2 votes, I go to my friends on the other side and say, hey, my friend, come join me and sign up, because you have to get signatures for your bills before they're even introduced on the floor. It's not required, but the more signatures you have, the better. And the more bipartisan signatures you have, the high chance of you passing that bill on the floor eventually.
So it means that you as a Democrat will have to have conversations with your colleagues who are Republicans when it comes to passing a bill, because you need the numbers.
Yes and no. The reason why I say yes or no is because this year was very unique. I came into the legislature when the people of Minnesota voted an even house, meaning we had 67 Republicans and 67 Democrats. So that means the state of Minnesota was like, we are so sick and tired of this partisan politics. We are voting in an even a house where we now have to work, because in 2023 the Democrats controlled the whole entire legislative body, right? We had the governor, we had the House and the Senate, and then our Attorney General is a Democrat, so that we had it nice. So we were very comfortable. We passed very meaningful bills like family paid leave, which actually kicks off in January. Licenses
family
for all.
Paid leave.
Yes, where citizens can take time off to take care of their families.
And you're still paid.
And you're still paid. Oh, yes. Driver's license for all. That was a big, very contagious, very politically charged bill where, it doesn't matter the status of who you are. You can get a driver's license in the state of Minnesota. So the other side was saying that if we do that, people will use that to vote who are not eligible to vote. Anyways, but we passed it because we had what? The Democrats had majority. So the no part of it is that back then you don't need the other side. You can just say, all right, my people, what are we doing? My party, what are we doing? Are we doing this? Can I get all of you guys to support? Great. We passed some really strong, about 23 very strong bills that have been in gridlock for many years. Work has gone into it, but we haven't been able to because of the partisan politics. But this time around, because we're tied, now we have to work extra hard, because now you have to make sure you have enough relationships, and it really comes down to relationships, right? Making sure you have strong relationships on the other side. Even one person, that's all you need.
Just one. And so it means that the citizens of Minnesota benefit from what you currently have.
Exactly.
Meaning by the time
people win.
Yes, by the time a bill is passed, it has been thoroughly
vetted.
Yes.
Because you'll have activists. If you, for example, I was authoring a bill around recycling. In my head, I'm like, this is a great bill, environmentally friendly. My friend, these people came for me last minute and killed my bill, just like that, because I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't, I thought I had spoken with all of the key stakeholders, but advocacy groups came in and they were like, this bill is this, and I tried to work with him last minute, trying to change the wording of the bill. I worked with the chair of the main big committees. Akuna wapi.
Huldah, what made you get into politics?
I think for me, what did it was that I did a lot of community work, and I realized that sustainability of our community is rooted in clear, solid policies. And I realized our voices were not at the table. I didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be a politician. The first time I actually really got involved was when our brother Obama got into the scene in 2008, right? You remember that hype around him. And of course, he was Kenyan. So I said, hey, that's my cousin. I took pride in that, right? And so that's how I got involved. But how I finally got into where I am today is that I would apply for grants for, I was the president of one of the biggest Kenyan organizations in the Midwest in the U.S. And I realized as soon as that grant would run out, we would go back to square one. It wasn't addressing the root cause of what we were trying to do. Issues around housing, public safety, healthcare, education, you name it. And so one day we were at a gathering, and our current senator, we were petitioning her office and completely ignoring us, right? And they were focused on their thing, their agenda. That's fine. And I remember walking up to her and I was like, hey, I'm a part of your constituency. A couple of community leaders have been coming to your office. We're not able to get a hold of you. And you know how when you feel dismissed, she took a card, reach out to my office. And I felt dismissed, my friends. Hey, she stood up there, she made her announcement, and she said, I am retiring, and basically on the same breath endorsed another person who was there. And as I looked back at the track record of how that the elected officials in our community have, it was like a handing down of baton. And I was like, this is not the democracy that I started, that I literally had to test out in order to become a citizen. This is not how democracy works. And I just said, somebody needs to run. And at that moment, I didn't think it was going to be me, but I just said somebody needs to run. And people were just chuckling and just thinking that, the senator has already endorsed the person who is going to be the next senator in our constituency. And I was like, no. And so I found myself at 3 o'clock in the morning, Googling under the covers, how to become a candidate. Because I was like, if they can't listen to me and we're not at the table, then somebody needs to do something about it. And so not a lot of people know that I ran for Senate in 2022.
Okay.
Not a lot of people. And this is a lesson learned. When you lose, my friends, nobody cares. Nobody cares that you exist. But when you win, my friends, you're everybody's best friend. Everybody knows who you are. So make sure you win. Right? And so that's how I got into it. And 2022's race allowed me to learn how to become a candidate, what matters. Because for me in 2022, I was focused on getting our people energized. Hey, there's this thing here. You people need to participate. Our people didn't show up. I invested a lot of money. I invested a lot of time.
When you say our people, you mean?
I'm talking about Kenyans. I'm talking about African immigrants
who actually can vote in this.
Who can actually vote, and not even vote, by the way. That is even. I'm talking about even getting, because my district is a Democratic district. So whoever who wins the primary, whoever who wins the endorsement, mind you now, in around April when the party is endorsing the candidate, has a great shot of winning the whole entire thing, right?
Wow.
So I was thinking my people will show up and cast their vote for me to be the DFL, the Democratic endorsed candidate. Nowhere to be found. People were busy at church. SDS people, they were staying at church, and I'm like, hey, we have a problem. But yet they would come to me and say, we need money for a church building. My friend, we have a long way to go. But eventually, I learned that data is key. So in this time around in 2022, Isaiah focused on who actually votes in the primaries the last 5 years, and it was a white people, it was Asian people. It was this other demographics and not the African immigrant community. Wow. We don't vote during the primaries. Somebody was calling me the day after the primary asking me, my sister, where are we voting? And I'm sitting here going, voting was yesterday. Why are you calling me? I'm not even on the ballot. Or people would call me in November asking me at Maze, I don't see your name on the ballot. Where are you? I'm like, my thing ended in August. Now you're asking me. The lessons I learned. but I think now that I've won, our people have woken up and realized it's possible. And they have understood the process as well. So.
We're also facing our own version of voter apathy.
Yes.
And ours actually happens at the ballot on D-Day. People either don't, like in the last election, from the stats we're getting, about 8 million people never voted. Why? We might not know why. But there's a question I want to ask before we talk about the reason why you're in Kenya and the kinds of partnerships we're looking forward to. Voter bribery, people just campaigning and handing out cash to people so that they can gather crowds and probably just try and sway votes in their favor. Is that something that is experienced in the States?
No. And I said no because, we have, everything is regulated there. Even you people can't send me money to run my campaign. And there, it's you're selling your policy, not trying to bribe somebody for their vote. Because if you do that, you will find yourself in jail. And so for us, it's about mobilizing around the idea of what do people want, and centralizing our campaign around that. And so, no, we don't have, there's cases where people have tried, and you've seen newspapers where people have literally gone to, for example, look at the French, what happened, the president.
President Sarkozy.
And so in the U.S., because it's so regulated, and because every single money that you get to run your campaign is also accounted, every penny. There's a board we call a campaign finance board that regulates. For example, I had a friend of mine from Switzerland who sent me money. I had to send that money back. Because I couldn't accept it. Only a permanent resident and a U.S. citizen can give a candidate money. And so from that perspective, it forces candidates to be ethical in their dealings. And on top of that, too, you can't be pushing an agenda if you can't show a track record or if you can back it up. Here, our politicians come here and they, speak their sweet words and flaunt their wealth, and it's unfortunate. I'm at the point where I no longer blame the politicians, I blame the people. And I don't know if it's a lack of education, but I think, we as the people have the right to elect these leaders. You talked about the other part of it. Oh my goodness, has gone over my head.
Well, I was asking about voter bribery and paying people to show up to your rallies and stuff like that.
You cannot do that. You absolutely cannot do that. People will show up because they are passionate about the candidate.
They'll show up because they're passionate about
the candidate, Huldah.
Yeah.
Like my rallies, my town halls, all of that, and also how you communicate with people. I was very intentional about getting the word out. Hey, we are going to do this town hall here. Show up, and there people are engaged. They do understand. For the majority of the population, they do understand how, especially politics impact their lives, and people are very vocal about it. And also, when you have those public meetings, you'll also have opposition coming as well. It's everything there is public, so you cannot bribe anybody to come so that you can have a crowd, so that
Here in Kenya, you actually go for a rally and people line up after the rally so that you can give them a handout. And if you don't, they either won't show up at the next rally or they'll rough you up.
And that's unfortunate.
Yes, it is.
That is very unfortunate.
But it isn't. There are exceptions. There are not many, but there are exceptions. There are people who've been elected and they are notorious, I'm using the word notorious deliberately, for not giving money. And they are known. There are those who've actually been voted several times and yet people say, this person doesn't give money when
this person is stingy.
Yes, but when it is
there's hope there. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It comes down to the people.
Yes,
and also it comes down to our politicians. Realizing that they're looking or they're seeking a seat to serve people. For me, I didn't get into it to gain authority. I went in there to serve people, and if our politicians can center their politics around people, they don't even need to bribe anybody. Poverty is what makes us, most of our people act the way they do, right? If you're so poor to the point where that 100 shilling or that 1,000 shilling, will feed your family, my friend, you will go line up. So there's we have a long way to go.
The fundamental issue, why what Paul is speaking of, has reached the epidemic status, or has acquired the epidemic status it has, is that people who aspire to political office actually fuel that thinking. They encourage it and they participate actively in ensuring that it is entrenched. Because there was a time in our history, not very long ago, when the very same thing that you're talking about, people were elected because of what they represented and who they were and what it is that people thought they could do. When people accept money as they do here, in essence, they've given up. They figured, this fellow won't do anything.
Yeah. So I might as well eat now.
I might as well take what this guy... because it doesn't matter. When this guy gets elected, people who are in the constituencies where their representatives don't give money. When asked, they say, but he doesn't really have to give us money because what he's doing for us, we can see. So he doesn't have to give us money. It means people haven't actually lost hope completely.
Yeah.
But because people have to, as you say, live and survive, right now we're in the throes of our elections, and one doesn't hear of people who claim to be in the opposition and those in government telling you with great clarity how it is they are going to ensure that the problem that bedevil the country will be resolved or solved.
No.
They make broad, sweeping statements about what they want to do, scanty on the details. Yes, before you came in, we were discussing something regarding certain bills that were passed.
Yes.
And they're a big hoo-ha. My take on the matter was they should shut up, because the process that bills take before it actually gets to the president is long. Why did they not talk about these bills at that point? Why didn't we look at the details of the bill as a citizenry before it even got to the president? The noise that we're making now, why didn't we could have made it then, so that those who want to pass the bill would say, guys, we'd better not pass this bill as it is. We need to change certain things so that it's acceptable to the people. That didn't happen. So now, even as we speak and it has been signed, there's a reason why I have gone into that monologue, because I want to ask you this question.
Yes.
That was a background. What is it within the political landscape of Minnesota or the US that can get a politician jailed?
There's a few things.
Yes.
There, the systems are set up to the point where you know your boundaries. And the people are involved in the process. From the beginning root cause of the core essence of a bill to the point where it has been passed to the point where it has been signed into law. This whole entire time, people are involved, right? And so for us, and then also you have the right to even, file lawsuits if there's a bill that is going against the Constitution or the law, right? And so for us, I think everything is rooted in the systems that have been set up. Whether or not, don't get me wrong now, those institutions also are set up that disadvantage a lot of minority communities. And those are the systems that we as the minority communities are also fighting about, right? And so for me, the laws that are there, they're being followed. Right? I don't know about here. I try to understand, how does a bill come into law? My friend, I couldn't even keep track. And so when you talk about, we should have, public participation, we should, have our politicians, make noise before. Most of the time when I look at the bunge, half of the seats are empty. I literally was asking my friend, what do you people do all day? And then my friend told me, if it has nothing to do with my bill, why am I doing in Parliament? I don't need to be there. And in my head, I'm like, but you were literally elected to serve and to vote on bills, right? So in my head, I'm like, if there's a bill that is being passed and half of the people are not there, who is voting for what? Because from my end, right, we vote for, and that's what I said, I don't just serve my constituency. I serve the whole entire state of Minnesota, because when I vote, my vote also counts for other bills that impact other parts of the state, right? And so here, I am literally trying to figure out, how does even Parliament work? How do bills are passed?
I hope you call out your friend.
Because our people, if they can't even communicate how even does the process work, how do you expect a common mwananchi who is trying to take their kid to school to even participate in the process of this bill by the time it gets to the president's desk? Yes, that process is long, but do the people actually know it? Do our politicians, our leaders, take the time to educate our people? Hey, this bill is coming. When was the last time our politicians came out there? Hey, I'm authoring this bill. Going back to their constituency and said, I'm authoring this bill. This is how this impacts you. What's your thought process on that? Is that conversation being happening? No. Me, I have to go back and say, this is the bill that I'm championing. Do you guys have any issues? This is my constituency that I'm asking as we go on throughout the process. I don't know if that happens here.
No, it does not happen at all. In fact, it leads now to the next question. When you look at the citizens of Minnesota, do they mirror or do they provide the image of a people who actually understand their constitution and their own individual rights within the constitution?
I would say for the most part, yes, but there's pockets who still don't. And there's factors that go into that. Especially the minority community there. People are busy trying to pay bills, right? And so they're not engaged politically as much as possible. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run, honestly, because I understood that, hey, these people have, for example, this past legislative cycle, it was our budget year. We balanced a budget of $66 billion, just the state of Minnesota alone, right? And
you balanced it.
We balanced it within, let me tell you, this will shock you, within 5 months and an extra special session, because we are a part-time legislator, meaning we are not year-round. We have a set within our constitution of Minnesota, and each state has their own. There's some states that are full-time all year-round, and there's some states that even their legislators don't even get paid, right? Each state, yes.
What do you mean don't get paid?
Don't get paid to legislate, my friend.
So
it's a volunteer.
Yeah, you volunteer.
They serve because they want to serve, right? Even the state of Minnesota, honestly, I get paid pennies. So there's no money in politics, but there's influence. You use your influence to do what? To get money, right? And so politics there, and I think that's the essence. It's not perfect. We have our own issues. Don't get me wrong. We have serious issues. But the core center of it, because the money piece of it is taken out of the picture, right? You go in there wanting to serve people, right? We don't get paid enough to do what we do.
Okay.
And so we balance that budget within the time allowed, right? And because we didn't finish within the regular session, now the governor had to call a special session, which was, we had 24 hours to finalize all of the remaining bills that we had on the docket to make sure that we close out this biennium. Okay. And we did it within probably like 12 hours.
Wow.
And we were supposed to be there the whole entire 24 hours, sleeping at the camp, not even sleeping, walking if we needed to debate
you
those
can't
bills.
leave parliament, yeah. Yeah?
The states you speak of, New Mexico and New Hampshire, you reimburse travel probably $100. Just
oh yes, there's the same state who don't pay their legislators.
As we say in Kenya, Yamacho. Yes, but
what?
But payment as such, no. Why I asked the question of the understanding that the individual citizens have of their laws. Does it reflect on how it is they participate? Because when you say that you had a group of activists who came, and one moment you had a bill, the next moment you didn't.
I didn't have a bill.
Yes, it means they were actually arguing, or they were basing their points on aspects of the legislature
and the
law and understanding.
Yeah.
That is what they base their, yes.
So that's what I'm saying. By the time a bill gets to the floor to be debated, it has been vetted. Our legal team has looked at the legal ramification of that bill. Anything and everything. Even after that has happened, you can still have your bill be crushed when it goes to the conference committees. The conference committees is when the Senate and the House comes together and they now look at the bills that will eventually end up pass those bills through that conference committee to the governors. So by the time it gets that into law, my friend, it has been turned upside down. Every aspect of that bill, the pros and the cons, has been vetted. How much money and where this money is coming from and how we are going to pay for this program, you name it, vetted.
As a percentage, what is the percentage of Africans in Minnesota?
I mean, Kenyans alone, we're about, we are clocking close to 100,000 Kenyans. And mind you now, these are Kenyans are either, and they're not, so every 10 years we do a census count, right? And sometimes our people don't even sign up, or they would sign up and they don't identify themselves a certain way. So that is a disadvantage because a lot of these bills are based on that data. A lot of how we assigned seats, especially in the congregational level, determines on the population of each state, right? And so for us, we have a large population of African immigrants in the state of Minnesota because, as Africans, when you go somewhere and you find something isn't good, you call your brother, you call your sister, they follow you, right? We have a big population of Somalis. You know, during the Civil War, the biggest state that accommodated Somali community was the state of Minnesota. You know, so they have discovered the secrets of unity. My friend, hey, the Somali Americans have literally penetrated to the point where they have somebody in what, Congress?
Yes.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Yes.
You know, just like that. And then they have a Somali caucus that is strong. Hey, where they literally have a say. The politicians comes to them, to their community. The rest of us Africans, we're still trying to Kenyans.
Wait a moment, but
Kenyans,
I was of the view that the community will come from the Abagusi. Okay?
Abagusi.
Yes. I was of the view, because from what I have observed here in Kenya, they tend to work very well as a community. Okay.
I love my people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love my people.
I'm sure they love you.
They love, and don't get me wrong. Let me. So there's two sides to that coin, right? Since we are being real, what's the tagline here? Speaking truth and
home of hard truths and bold insights.
Exactly. Let's be hard truths and bold insights, right? Our people are very difficult. Me, honestly, it's because of them that I'm a politician. The things that the hell they took me through. Hey, my people, my Gusi people in Minnesota, I love you people. But my goodness, it's because of them now I have this thick skin.
So, Huldah,
but they're also good too. They're also good, because if you look at my donations, these people will not show up for anything.
But
when I told them I was running, 90% of my the first time I ran, I think I raised $72,000, and the majority, 90% of that, where did they come from? Is our people. So they are good, they are bad too.
It's a good thing. Now,
Yes.
I thought you were here on vacation, but you told me that you're here on a work trip. Yeah, so kindly explain that.
So yes. Obviously, this is home. This is who I am. And so the original purpose of me coming here was to connect with key stakeholders, because I want to bring here an economic trade mission, work together with the state of Minnesota and Kenya, because I see potential. Obviously, my priority is the people of Minnesota, my constituency, the state of Minnesota. But at the same time, there's opportunities where we can have a mutually beneficial opportunity engagements and partnerships, where we can, for example, the state of Minnesota, it's projected within the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, very short amount of time, the worker shortages in agriculture field, and then also in healthcare. We don't have workers. You're not going to find an average American working in the fields for 10, 12 hours, right? Healthcare field, even right now, it's a crisis, and so for me, how do I tap into this rich market of, number one, very learned population, number two, speaks English, a language that can easily, be translated into the needs of the Minnesota population, and then also the work ethic of Kenyans. My friend, Kenyans are we are very innovative when given the opportunity. So how do we tap into those markets and those opportunities to make sure that the needs of Minnesotans are met, but at the same time also have a mutual beneficial opportunities for Kenyans, So that I'm just giving you snippets.
Yep.
From a technology perspective, because there's 4 pillars that we were looking at. We were looking at technology, we were looking at agriculture, we were looking at healthcare, and then we were looking at education. How do we, because we understand there's power and diversity, especially within our educational system. The beauty of American democracy is rooted in its diversity of thought, right? And so our educational system, we still pride ourselves, although the current administration is trying to make America great again, everybody, we can have debates on what that means and what that looks like, but we still pride ourselves in our diversity, and not only on the cultural background, but also from an economic perspective as well, and social aspect as well. So that's what brought me to Kenya, to kind of explore this opportunity, because I truly believe that Kenya is the capital of the African continent, and I truly believe it is the access point to the African continent.
Right.
Yes, we have the giants of South Africa, we have the giants of Nigerians on the other end, but I truly believe Kenya is the epicenter right now of the African continent, because the other markets, the Asian markets, the European markets, they've been saturated. The next big market, not only just in the next 5 years, I'm talking about long-term sustainability of the global market, is in Africa. Africa is literally untapped. And so I see Kenya as that gateway to the African continent, and I'm ready to explore that and hopefully bring value to my constituency in the process.
It's been a while since okay, there's this whole situation happening in the States about immigration, migration.
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with that, considering we understand people are being brought back home to their various countries, of course? How are we going to deal with that situation? I really don't understand it. I only know what I see in the news. Who's been brought back, and how is it that you're going to get people to go there, if at all you do get to do that?
I think right now America is at a crossroads. It has been seen as this country of beacon of hope for a lot of people. It's a country of immigrants, let's be honest. It was built by immigrants. And so, to see what's happening in the United States, and don't get me wrong, the immigration system is very complex. My family's journey alone can tell you it's very complex to be an immigrant in America. A majority of the immigrants are there to literally work and help their people back home instead of trouble, but the idea that all immigrants are criminals, as the current administration is literally painting, and I'm not ashamed to say that. The trajectory of our country right now, in the heart of our country, it's at stake. And so right now, for my office, obviously that's a federal issue. Immigration, that's another thing. People need to understand, like, my office and the jurisdiction of my office. Immigration is a federal issue. But at the state level, we have the power to create policies that protect all human life. It doesn't matter your status. It doesn't matter where you come from. And so Minnesota might be, have you guys ever heard of this term, sanctuary states?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Are very friendly to immigrants. And for us, especially as the Democratic Party, we are rooted in humanity of somebody, not what a Makaratazi says about that person. So we are grappling with this idea of what's going on. There's many Kenyans who have been deported. I get a lot of cases in my office, and most of those people are not criminals. It's just that their status, for whatever reason, something happened, and they are undocumented, right? Again, like I said earlier, my family fought the immigration system for 11 long years. It literally took the hand of God. We were 48 hours away from being deported from that country. And so for somebody to sit here and say, well, why can they go through the legal channels? My friend, we did, and it took us 11 years and 48 hours away from being deported from this country. So if it wasn't by the grace of God, my friend, you wouldn't be talking to a Mheshimiwa I'm elected in the U.S. And that's a beauty of the American democracy, right?
Yeah.
And that beauty is jeopardized right now, especially with the current administration. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying people break laws, people do, yes, but at the same time we also understand the humanity piece of it as well.
This is the curse of politics, not politicians, because I start with politics because politicians represent a certain type of politics. And there is a certain narrative that I have determined to give a little more thought to, given what is happening in Gaza and given what is happening in the US. To some degree, what happened in South Africa. People leave their countries of origin because they're being persecuted. They're having a hard time. Something is making them leave. It's not that they're having a good time, they're having a terrible time, and they move.
Yes.
Now, they sail and go with that trauma to another country. And the interesting thing is, the trauma seems to never leave them. They now inflict the same trauma that was inflicted on them on the people they actually find there. Because if you look at the decimation of what is referred to as the Native Americans, it's something you look at and see what people forget, Canada did the same. It's just that Canada is a quieter country, so the issues are not, they are quiet.
Oh, yes.
So the issues are not spoken of. But it tells you something about trauma.
Yes.
And how it is that it can be passed on generationally. The Europeans who subscribed to the Jewish faith in Europe, traumatized, singled out, for whatever reason, they come to a place and they do exactly the same as what happened to them, if not worse, on the people they found there and the people who actually welcomed them when they came there. All the immigrants who came to the US, depending on who got there first.
Yes.
The Irish faced similar problems. The Italians faced similar problems. The East Europeans now, they face some phenomenal problems. The Africans were left out of it because them they were slaves.
Oh, yes.
But when they supposedly joined the mainstream, even with laws passed, for them to be accepted, it's a discussion that is still taking place today.
Today.
Yes.
It's still, and when I say institutions, they steal all of, like, American institutions were never meant for black people.
No, they were not.
People. They were not. You know, and so those are the institutions that we still sit here and we are still fighting against. You talk about trauma, right? So the immigrants who came, they brought their trauma.
Well, they came with
and
it.
Now, let's just take for example black people in America. Now they have to deal with additional trauma on top of that trauma when we talk about racism and those institutions, right? And so to even deal with the original trauma, if it hasn't been dealt with, my friend, and now you add additional trauma on that, I look back and I'm like, how do we even, where does the healing even begin?
Actually, it begins because of that nation and the diversity it represents. You cannot find a better melting pot than the US.
Absolutely.
And if they can work out their problems to a degree that you can see, yes, there are problems, but you can see progress. And progress happens in pockets. You'll go to Minnesota, you'll see, actually, these fellows seem to be understanding it. You go to other states, and it's like a completely different planet altogether. But you see, that diversity, then bring it back to Kenya.
Yes.
With our diversity,
and when you say your diversity, because the diversity in America is completely different from when you define it.
Absolutely different.
Talk about that.
Here, you know, we're all Africans.
Yes.
Okay? But because we are Nilots,
Bantus,
we are Kushites, we are Bantus, we have differences, but somehow we actually manage to work and we actually manage to get along until politics and the
Divides
politicians who represent them, no, they don't actually divide us. They keep trying. If they had succeeded and were divided, they would not keep trying.
There won't be a Kenya. And I'm so glad you brought that point up. We can sit here and look at Kenya and be like, hey, Maze, we have issues. But guess what? There's how many tribes here? And you mentioned all those core, communities, right? Somehow, some way, this country continues to progress.
We actually function.
Somehow, exactly. We still function. So that means Kenya has potential. If it decides to come together, my friends, that's why I said Kenya has the potential to be the gateway to the African continent. The fact that we have these political systems now ingrained and are slowing our progress down, we somehow are relevant in the world stage. When something happens in Kenya, the world stage knows about it. I mean, look, the death of Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, right?
Yes.
That has rocked the whole entire, not just Kenya alone, but the whole entire world, because they literally see Kenya as this beacon of hope in the East African bloc, but also the rest of. When Kenya does something, even when the Gen Zs rose up and made their voices heard, my friends, I was getting calls from Nigeria. I was getting phone. Can the Gen Zs come and teach us how to do this? We've
been teaching the world. Look at Bangladesh, Nepal.
Thank you. And not from a political perspective to the inversion. Look at M-Pesa. My friends, the Western world did not want nothing to do with M-Pesa. Because it literally cut out the middlemen, the financial institutions, right? And so when you look at Kenya, yes, Kenya has its own issues.
Right.
But we have so much potential.
Now, we have about 4 minutes before we let you go. I want to talk about gender parity in the House of Reps in Minnesota. How many of those representatives are women?
Not enough. I can't. I think it's a handful. I'm not 100% sure how many.
Okay.
But even our own posse caucus, we call it a posse caucus or minority caucus. It's just a handful of us. It's not a lot of us in the House.
Is that a
just
concern?
women. It is a huge concern because that does not reflect the diversity of the state of Minnesota. And so, especially as a party, as a Democratic Party, we champion ourselves in diversity, not only in diversity in thought, but also diversity in representation. And so this election cycle, we're really working hard, putting a lot of energy and resources. I'm talking about money into recruiting. We are recruiting candidates, my friend. Nobody wants to run. We are recruiting candidates to run.
Perhaps you need to pay them.
We can't pay them though. That's the thing.
Stop paying them good money. Yeah.
We can support them. We can give them money to run. And that's where it comes down to mobilizing around realizing representation matters. And when you have people who reflect the populations that make up the state of Minnesota, then the laws that we're passing are reflected on that core value of people.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of what next once you live here, and the partnerships that you're looking to form with the Kenyan people, what would you like them to know? Is there something you'd like them to apply, or a website you'd like them to visit, or they just wait for some kind of go ahead? Because you said you're coming to see the opportunities that the people of Minnesota can exploit here and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, we are at the beginning stages of this because there's a lot of factors that goes. By the time we are ready to literally do the intake, there's a lot of groundwork that we need to
so right now we're doing the groundwork.
Exactly, we're doing the groundwork to figure out, what does that even look like? What models work? Because one of the things that I was speaking with CS of Education, Julius Ogamba, yeah. And one of the conversations I was having with him was, how do we take the curriculum, for example, nursing, the U.S. nursing program, bring it here, integrate it into our educational system, so by the time somebody comes in and goes through that whole entire program and takes the next CLEX exam, they're ready for the U.S. market. We're not sitting here training them, right? One of the things that the supply and the demand is there. The biggest challenge right now is to work with the current administration around visas. You asked earlier about immigration and now this labor that we're trying to bring, what that would look like. That's a conversation that we're going to continue to have, because once that market is ready, all we need is the visa approvals.
It's a very good point you make, because the Philippines have done precisely that.
What do you mean? My friend, Minnesota right now, the biggest population of nurses we're getting from outside.
They're from the Philippines.
They're from the Philippines.
You know why?
Yep.
They have institutions that do exactly what you've said. When they train their nurses,
straight,
ready, packaged for the U.S. market.
Exactly.
Ready.
And that's another thing. Not even just nursing. I met with someone who's in the tea market, right? With the new laws where it has basically stripped the middleman out of the picture, where a buyer can go directly to the farmers themselves and buy their tea or I can't speak on coffee, right?
Yes.
And I'm sitting here going, we Americans consume a lot of tea, right? And coffee, mind you now. Why can buyers from Minnesota come here, go directly to the farmers and buy that tea from there and coffee? And because at the end of the day, my friends, who suffers in this whole process right now? You guys have been talking about, maybe you have, talking about the bonuses. And that has been, I've been following that. And I'm sitting here going, so you mean to tell me, as a farmer, I sit here and I do all this work only to get what? And the lowest, I was very mad when I realized when the data showed the lowest margins of bonuses were in Nyanza, in Kisii and Nyamira. And I was like, my friends, there's an issue here. Yeah. So anyways, I can't go into that.
Yeah.
But so those are the conversations that I've been having about how do I bring value, first of all, to the people that I represent in the state of Minnesota, and maybe be the gateway to the rest of the market in the U.S. When it comes to Kenyan products.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Momanyi. It's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation. Yeah. And as usual, I usually tell my guests, welcome, come back again. Let's continue having these conversations.
Absolutely. You invite me anytime, even if I'm not here. If there's something there that you people are like, hey, we need to know, give me a call. I'll join in virtually.
All right.
Sure. Thank you.
This is where we come to a close.